Patriots. Welcome to Hope for Survival YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. If you're a newcomer, thank you for stopping in. And if you're a returner subscriber, thank you for coming back. We're always happy to have you here. And as always, I don't spend a lot of time discussing the news because you can get the news on thousands of other platforms. I more so want to share thoughts with you on events taking place, the effects of causes from a global, national, and community perspective, and areas I think we should be preparing for, and in some cases how we should prepare. This video is titled "The Homeland and What I Believe is the Biggest Threat." So in some of my recent videos, I've shared with you thoughts on terrorist cells, how they are put together. I've talked about ideologies and so forth. In this video, we're going to be a bit past that. So the question that I'm asking myself is based off of Director Wray, director of the FBI, and his comments made a week or so ago in reference to the Homeland is under a threat like no other time before from terrorist cells. Okay. What would be an overarching threat or likelihood that would cripple America with the biggest impact for the longest term? Okay. And the methods of operation of numerous terrorist cells, whether they're from the Middle East or they're from South America, the Pacific Orient, the European theater, or even domestic. Oftentimes they have their own causes. It may be a hate for the West, it may be religious war, it could be against the environment, supporting the environment, and against specific causes they believe are damaging the environment. It could be animals' rights activists, it could be political, and so forth. And you can break it down even further into domestic religious attacks, or even socioeconomic between classes of people and ethnicity. So the thing when weighing out Director Wray's comments, and I look at the main players, that being Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. For the most part, these are all nation states. Okay? And they have a high level hate for the West. They have a high level hate for our government, our way of life, freedom, and so forth. So, looking at those four, what type of attack would best suit their needs? China has clearly openly stated that they want the land in America. they don't want the American people, but they want the land to grow food. North Korea, their people are starving to death, and they're basically advanced in technology, cyber. They're still developing weapon systems, claiming to be able to further their distance in striking the continental United States. We know they have shared a lot of their technology, nuclear technology, with Iran. An attack from Iran on the United States could be a multitude from religion, power and control, over using their religion for power and control over the populace of America. And then Russia could be some for the land to grow food, but more so for infrastructure and technology. So looking over history over the last, say, 20, 30 years, something that we often have talked about is the fear and threat of an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. This being some form of a detonation at a high altitude, either in the central United States, or if it's a smaller weapon being detonated, regionalized, maybe in the northeast, the southeast, or the west coast. This type of weapon would likely set the United States back into the 1800s, and in our lifetime we would probably never see a recovery from it. You're talking years to excuse me. You're talking years to rebuild transformers overseas, and then they would have to be shipped to the coastline, and if everything's right, then you're going to have to find a method to move the transformers. You're going to need heavy labor equipment, which would likely not be available. Okay? Currently, it would be safe to assume that Russia, China, and North Korea could detonate an EMP. Iran maybe, likely, but I can't say so with confidence. So when we talk about an EMP, most people think of the EMP either being a blast in the atmosphere that's going to fry everything. In the last 10 years, we've heard more discussion on the EMP, an EMP through a cyber attack on the grid. So it wouldn't necessarily be a detonation at altitude. It would be a cyber attack to take down the grid. And if this were the case, then we would have a grid down, but we would not have components fried. Okay? They would simply be down. So it would benefit China and Russia more so than the other two to use a cyber method to take down the grid. You can do some research and find the documentation of currently who holds the contract in designing the security software that protects our grid, and who our government contracted to secure our grid. It is one of the 4 countries I mentioned, and it doesn't start with an A or a B, and it comes before D. How's that? This is one of those head scratchers that's along with why are we sending our military and troops off to die in foreign lands when we're leaving our borders wide open? Why are we hiring one of our greatest enemies who has openly stated they're going to take us down as a nation to design and protect the security of our grid? So you may go back and think 20 to 30 years ago, under the administration of the person prior to Orange Man, they conducted several grid exercises, and in the last one he conducted, he allowed individuals from both Russia and China to come to a location where they were conducting the exercise, and he gave them access into the location for that specific key grid element. That was during the same period when there were a couple of attacks on our grid in the West Coast. It was never determined who committed the attacks to our grid, specifically the one in California. But there was some indicators that they believed it was either Chechnyan rebels or someone from that region. So what does that have to do with what I'm talking about now? When I weigh out all the current problems that we have in our country, the fact that we just ended a 20+ year war in Afghanistan, we left tons of equipment there, we went right into another campaign in Ukraine that didn't go as intended, and now we are getting involved in another conflict that I believe will likely lead to war in the Middle East. We have supply chain issues, we have fuel issues, we have debt issues, we have a moral breakdown in our culture and society. Our education system is failing. The list goes on and on and on. We have major issues within our country that are not quick fixes. It didn't break overnight, and it's not going to be fixed overnight. Okay? So what would be the easiest way for an adversary to cripple us and completely break us down? I personally believe, when I weigh things out, I personally think that, considering there's an estimated hundreds of cells within our country, potentially from all parts of the world, that the first strikes could be against our grid to take the grid down. Now, when I say take the grid down, that could be either through cyber and take the grid down, or damaging the grid. Excuse me. Damaging the grid. China and Russia would not benefit in most cases using this scenario. So a question I've asked for years is, what if it appeared to be an EMP type takedown, but it was a controlled grid takedown, meaning the grid goes down, shuts everything down, and at some point possibly rolling from rule of law to without rule of law, to deploy some form of a security force in the regions that are key to the adversary. That they would take the grid down and they wouldn't bring it back up until all elements were in place to control the people. So when we think about planning for an EMP, we can't just think of a sky burst that's going to fry the grid. We've got to mentally think the different scenarios that could appear to be an EMP. That being an EMP, a CME, coronal mass ejection. It could be a cyber attack on the grid, taking it down. Or a controlled grid, nationally or regionally. So, thinking about that, that would kind of answer the question, what do you think that an enemy would be trying to accomplish with an EMP attack? Okay, and you have to then look at ideology and methodology, and intent, capability, and location. Okay, if they blow up people, massacre people, location by location by location, yeah, you're gonna get a short bang for your buck. Okay, and that's against the people more so than it's against the American government. So believing that the goal would be to cripple our country and our government, I believe it would be smart to focus in these areas. So what would you look for as symptoms that an EMP has occurred, and how would you know it's not just a large-scale power outage? Okay. So looking for symptoms. One of the first things that I would look for, which it's just habit every day, is one of the first things I do when I wake up in the morning is I grab my phone and I look at the time. Okay, starting my day, even on the weekends. Okay, plans, commitments, things I have to get done to fit everything for that day into the time that I'm awake. So I look at time. If I have time showing that my phone is functioning, but yet the power is out in my home, then that would most likely tell me that it's a power outage, because the cell signal is still working, and when I'm home, my phone is on the house internet. So if my internet's still working because I have it on battery backup, but everything else there's no power, then initially I'm going to think that it's a power outage. If I wake up and there's no power and my cell phone is dead, one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my vehicle and I'm going to turn my vehicle on to see if my vehicle starts or doesn't start. That's going to be one of my first indicators, is my vehicle. Okay. If my vehicle starts, but yet everything in the house is dead, then it's going to tell me it's either a power outage of some sort, or it is possibly a controlled grid takedown. Okay. Because it's not going to fry my automobile. So my vehicle will work, but everything in my home likely won't work without some source of battery or solar power backup. Okay? So those are some of the first things that I'm going to do. Alright? As far as symptoms. What would you do immediately after you realized an EMP had occurred, i.e. the first hour or the first day? So this is my own personal belief, and this is what I train. I'm a firm believer, just like if it's a protest or there's a threat in a mall or wherever it may be, my thought is you need to regress out of the picture and out of the situation. And just like when the big started in March of 2020, when 90% of the people rushed to stores to buy the things they needed, toilet paper, Miss Lucy and I, we regressed out and back. We got out of the picture and out of the scene. Why? Because we were already prepared. There was nothing we needed to go and get to sustain us. We were set up. And that's what I encourage everyone to do. Okay? Now, if it is a controlled takedown and you have no power, but you do have an operating vehicle, it's going to take the majority of the people around you a while to figure out something's wrong. Okay? It's going to take them a little bit, a day, right, to figure it out. And then when their EBT cards will not work in ATM machines, then they're going to start panicking, and then they're going to start getting mad. You definitely do not want to be out during this period. If there's somewhere you need to go to get away from your home where you plan to go, you need to be moving in those first hours. Okay? Already packed, loaded, and gone. You do not want to be there when your community starts to collapse. All right? And it won't take a long time for that to happen. Once people start figuring out there's a bigger problem than what meets the eye. So if you don't have to go anywhere and you're at home, in the first 24 to 72 hours, this is a great time to basically start securing and locking down your home and your community, okay, to the best that you can, because you're getting a heads up of what's coming. All right? You don't want to wait till someone throws a rock through your window to decide to put plywood over your window. You want to put the plywood over your window before they throw a rock at your window, right? If you have not prepared then fully, then in the first day and hours, this would be your time to run to Lowe's or somewhere with cash and buy plywood, anything you need in materials to protect your home and your property anywhere possible. In our 30-some page HFS checklist, we have a I think it's called like a crunch time checklist. These are things to go buy in the last hours immediately. All right, this is not the time to go buy 6 months worth of food. Those days are past. Okay, so what are things that you can go buy and pay cash for quickly and get them back home so that you can lock in? And this is where you're going to dust off your plans, run your checklist, and start positioning your home and your community to be ready in the likelihood the power is not coming back on anytime soon, right? So do you have any thoughts or plans about getting home and gathering family members? This is the absolute critical point in having a PACE plan and having a your PACE plan is your communication plan, and then having a plan together as to who is where, right? Someone's at work, maybe someone's at school, someone may be at home, Someone may be over at a parent's house. Who is going to pick up the child? Okay, what routes are they traveling? What timelines can you expect them to be home? You don't want them 2 hours late and then you decide to leave your home to go look for them. Now you have two problems, right? But if you have routes already predetermined, at least you will know what routes to go to look for your loved ones. All right. This is the importance of having ready bags in your vehicles. In the event your vehicle won't work and now you're on foot and you got a 10-mile trek through neighborhoods X, you may have bridges that are blocked off from communities protecting their neighborhoods, and you may have to cross water to get through. What is your plan? Okay. You need to be pre-thinking all of these now. Okay. Is there anything you would want to rush out and buy from a store immediately after an EMP? When I say after an EMP, this would be either an atmosphere EMP, a cyber attack, or a controlled grid takedown. Okay, because you may not have a vehicle. If it's a burst, atmospheric burst, the likelihood is you will not have a vehicle. All right, so these are all things you need to pre-plan and pre-think. No, there is nothing I would want to go and buy from a store. The time for thinking these things out and buying these things has been over the past months and in the coming days and weeks. All right. This again is needs versus wants. Okay. If it appears that some form of an EMP has happened and you are going to journey and do a last minute shop, you need to make it really, really fast. And you need to have a plan of where you're going and a timeline that your loved ones can expect you back home. Don't add problems to the already stressful situation by, I'm going to take off and go look and see what's going on in their town right now. Okay, and you're riding down the street filming it. That's a really, really not smart thing to do. Okay. What do you think are pressing things to accomplish within the first 3 days or so? Securing your property, dusting off your plans, ensuring that everyone that's part of your plan knows what their responsibilities are, having a security plan, security schedule set up for your neighborhood or your farm, wherever you may be, testing your communication plan, setting up rotating communication check schedules. Do you need to fortify better where your animals are protected at? These are things that you need to be doing. This is your survival and livelihood of getting through ever how long the period's going to be going forward, right? So I've talked to people who have commented, looking at the whole world and the whole preparedness spectrum, and they've commented that maybe if we had an EMP because of their own preparedness level, if we had an EMP, then maybe it would get rid of some of the riffraff and kind of kind of reset things, right? I just want some hot chocolate. I'm kind of partial on that. I don't wish bad on anyone, but if it's going to come to some form of major disaster of this type, something that will level the playing field of the unprepared to the prepared may be to some degree of benefit. So, so these are just some things to think about on a video, because of the platform. Can't really elaborate a whole lot, and because of the time in a single video, can't really go into great detail. But the whole premise of this is based on current threats from terrorist cells. I believe the highest probability against their nation would be an attack against our grid. Okay, that would be the biggest, most devastating, the hardest to recover from, the hardest to then defend their borders and their nation from foreign threats. That would be follow on from the terrorist takedown of the couple thousand transformers in America. Remember, it's estimated they only have to take down 9 to 12 of these platforms to basically crash America's grid. Okay, so an important part for you is to be able to immediately recognize what's working, what's not working, do some deductive reasoning as to what is the likelihood, and then go into action. Okay. This is one of those scenarios where when you have free time, just kind of thinking through, if this happened, this is what we would do. If this happened, this is what we would do, and so forth. Okay. And there's many other areas. I only hit on a few of them. There's many other areas that you could initially test to see if they work and don't work. For me personally, based on my situation, if my phone worked and the power is out, then it's probably going to be a power outage of some sort. If the phone's down and the power's down, I'm going to go test my vehicle. Okay. If the vehicle works, then it is possibly a controlled grid down. If my vehicle won't work and nothing in the house works, then it is likely it is a EMP from some form of a airborne burst in the atmosphere. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off. It's a little bit long, but I'm on the road right now, as you can see by my surroundings in the background, here in the living room of the lodging where I stay at when I come down here most of the time, and have a full kitchen, microwave, dishwasher, stove, dishes, fridge, have a living area, full bathroom, you know, bedroom. So it's very comfortable. It's just I don't like being away from home as time passes. But Miss Lucy packs me up with a really good cooler. Once I'm in my room, I typically have tons of work to do each night, and I prefer to eat in my room. I could cook if I wanted to, but I have a cooler with I had pepper soup for dinner tonight. I have venison stew that she put together for me, and I have a casserole still, and so I pack my own lunch, and I have dinners here in the room, so that's all good. So by being able to do videos here in the room, I don't have to torture you with YouTube videos from the road. Although I have 4 hours each way to share thoughts with you. So anyway, if you have not subscribed to the Hope for Survival channel, please consider doing so. Share with others. And if you like this video, please hit like. And if you have a comment, please feel free to leave a comment. I'm still offering the 30-some page checklist again. If you would like to have your own copy email me at preparedness101@protonmail.com and I will send them to you only by email. Please don't put information in the comment section below. I do read the comments. I try to answer them as time permits, but I prefer to have the request via email. Come visit our website, hopeforsurvival.com, and again, stay on your toes. The world seems to become more bizarre by the day. Just decisions that are being made and so forth. Stay healthy. There's a lot of folks who are sick right now. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk again soon. Until next time, don't forget your spiritual, your physical, and your psychological well-being. And take care. Bravo Echo out.